Hello dear patients and our followers. Today we are going to have a small evaluation of the patient who underwent the hair transplantation surgery almost 12 months ago, 1 year ago in our clinic. So the patient had a classic androgenetic alopecia. It's a fancy word, but in general English it means the next. Genetic male pattern baldness. It has some unique features. It starts with an asymmetric hair loss from the front hairline, with two temples receding, with some tiny spot maybe starting in the crown area, and all the time they widen up and make the front part, mid part, and the crown area completely open. In androgenetic alopecia, most of the time what we see that the hair loss goes all the time. It doesn't go immediately, so it's not like you wake up, you lose your hair. No, it goes all the time. It first starts with some thinning, or we call the miniaturization. So hair gets thinner, 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 and over the time it goes forever. So the patient had a normal type 4A of the hair loss. What does it mean? First of all, it means the loss of the continuity of the front hairline, deep recedings at the both temples, loss of the front hairline, weakening and the hair loss in the front forelock or front tuft and the front third. So the front side and some transition in the mid scalp is completely affected. For this type of patients, on average, you may need the numbers between 3,000 to 4,000 grafts. Of course, numbers change from patient to patient depending on the size of the open area, the density you want to get, expectation of the patient, and of course the capacity of the donor area. The plan for the surgery was the reconstruction of the front hairline, covering the temples front line, reinforcing the front and covering the front third. The estimated number of the grafts needed for the patient was around the gulf of 3,500 grafts. So for this type of patients, every once in a while we can go with the procedure called the conservative hair transplantation surgery, or like preservation hair transplantation surgery at some point. We do the classic micro FUE surgery, or FUE surgery is both the same things. So in the classic FUE, we go with the extraction, incision, and implantation. So we take the hair, prepare new holes or channels for them, and then implant them back. But every once in a while, for some patients, we may first start with the incisions, and depending on the number of incisions, the donor area is fine. We go with the extraction after that. This way we try to protect the donor area as much as possible. Most of the time, it's good for the neurotype 2 to 3, and some patients to neurotype 4 or 4A. So as you can see from the pictures, we did the reconstruction. First of all, we rebuilt the front hairline. The crucial point about the front hairline is that the thumb up rule number 1, or golden rule number 1 for the reconstruction of the front hairline, is to keep the hairline as high as possible and as conservative as possible. It gives us the chance to give the patient more coverage and the density instead of just getting the hairline too low. Why? Because as we males get older all the time, the patients may lose more hair. So if you take the hairline too low, it will require a higher number of the grafts, and if all the time you have more receding, it will end up with some hair, empty spot to the corner, and hair again. So as you can see, we did the reconstruction of the front hairline, marked the areas that needs to be transplanted. It's mostly the front line, frontal temporal angle, the transition from the front line to the temples, and reinforcing the front forelock, and densification and coverage of the front third part of the hair. So it's mostly the front side and slight transition to the mid scalp. So we went with the conservative hair transplantation surgery for this patient. The number of incisions that were made is 3,600. It was very close to the number that we predicted, around the gulf of 3,500 grafts. The technique was used as the classic FUE surgery with the incisions first, then the extraction. The donor area was sufficient and really good to get the sufficient number of the grafts, and we did first incisions, then extraction. The surgery went as planned, and at the end of a year we can see that we have caught up the main aspects or the purpose that we wanted, to rebuild the front hairline and cover the sides. You can see here the incisions of the front part. The most important here is the transition from the front side to the temples. The direction of the hair is very important. They should be slightly downwards on the corner and slightly to the inner side when you go to the front line. So that's one of the pitfalls that most of the time we can see in the black market clinics. And here are the results of the patient 12 months after the surgery. You can see the front hairline is completely restored. Okay, that's very important for the patient to have the front frame of the face when it's completely rebuilt. More important point is also the corners or the transition of the front side to the temples, or as we call it, the frontotemporal angle. It's very natural. It's really hard to say that the patient had the surgery. It's very important for the surgery to be really undetected, or so whenever whoever sees it, they don't say, hey, did you have the surgery? And also the patient is very happy with the result, and we caught up our main expectation and the main aim of the surgery to cover the front side. The patient is happy, we are happy, wishing him the happy hair.